Greetings, everyone. My name is Brianna Rule, and this is my creative final project for Lesbian Lives and Cultures. When asked to share the future that I've imagined, I began to think of my own visions, but I was also curious to know the world that others have imagined. Just a disclaimer that I only interview people that I know and am friends with, so there is a bias. These individuals are my friends, and it's natural that they would have similar views to mine. However, the point of these interviews is to gain insight and see how others would view the world.
My name's Karen, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
My name is Elizabeth Hernandez. My pronouns are she and her.
So my name is Camilla Catignas. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
My name is Omar Sanchez. My pronouns are he, him, his.
My name is Leo. My pronouns are they, them.
I envision a future where society is more accepting of people despite their identities, and also worlds where people understand how society really affects someone's mental health.
I envision a future in which people are a bit more self-compassionate, because I think that can translate to compassion for others, and even especially those with opposing views. So I think that would allow people to be more open-minded, and it would help them see that there's really no need for hate.
So I want to envision a future where better access to comprehensive education and resources is better and equally distributed. I feel that proper access to education for all will help make a significant impact in not only the well-being of our future generations, but also to lessen the gap of global inequality and the negative effects of climate change.
I know what type of world I would want to live in. It's where there's no injustice, but it's just once people say something like that, it's what even is that? I feel that I want to live in a world where people are just able to, in a way, just be themselves. I feel that the way that the world is at the moment, people view themselves as money. I want to do this, not because I want to, but because I want to get paid. And that makes sense because that's the only way that you can survive, I hear. But I feel that for me, in the most crude, my most crude definition, I just want people to be able to just be who they want.
In my perfect world, I wish we would stop worrying so much about how people identify and focus on how we can uplift each other.
Well, I think that society plays a major role in the perception that an individual has on oneself. So many people in these marginalized groups, including people in the LGBTQ community, they sadly develop mental health issues such as depression and low self-esteem, mostly because they encounter discrimination throughout multiple sectors of our society, and they're made to feel ashamed for who they are. If our communities were more accepting of these groups, it would minimize self-doubt, self-hate, and it would help increase opportunity for these groups.
I definitely think the LGBTQ movement is a big part of that future because it is a change towards love and acceptance. Unfortunately, a lot of people are not confident with that yet. They don't even have that love and acceptance for themselves, so it really affects the way they see that movement. They say it's just a bunch of made-up terms, but I think we should really help them see that it's a beautiful and peaceful way to open up our minds and help us realize some of the really deep-rooted flaws in our society, such as heteronormativity. That's not a new term, even though it seems like it is, but it's been with us for centuries, and I think it's really good to want to grow and change from that.
So I feel that the fact that many national governments, especially here in the US, still heavily consist of wealthy, patriarchal, and heterosexual and heteronormative white males, in which these people in the government don't really represent a large sector of today's US interest. So having predominantly privileged straight white males in the vast majority of government will continue to further contribute to inequality in distribution to resources, whether it's access to comprehensive reproductive health care, not only in the US, but all around the world, better resources for education, and most importantly, the cycles of corruption and global exploitation that our country seems to be repeating.
I feel like everyone has the right to be who they want to be, but before we can even get to that, we need to talk about our oppression. These are the discussions that people don't want to have. Prison politics and everything, how it bleeds back out into our society. I feel that prisoners are the people that we need to have the most solidarity with, and they're the most forgotten. And people forget that queer people are prisoners too. As I said in the previous one, everyone should be able to be what they want to be, as long as you're not fucking other people over. For me, I feel like lesbian, queer, gay, trans, these identities have always been like in the margins, but it's also not my place to speak for them.
I hope all minority lives are viewed as equal in our country as well as all over the world, and we can live as happily and freely as everyone else.
Well, I would like to see a world where everywhere is a safe place for everyone to just be who they are without feeling judged or without being afraid of being judged, and also a world that encourages self-love and self-acceptance.
I think the radical change I'd want to see is probably a change in our economic system so that everyone has a better access and actually available resources equally for everyone, especially like for health. And I know that we're not all gonna have the same view on that, but I think if everyone was a bit more understanding for one another, then it'd be good.
Hopefully by the time I'm in my 30s or 40s, I hope the US will realize that, especially after this COVID-19 pandemic where everything is almost basically failing, but a lot of people are denying that. I hope the US will realize that capitalism is highly ineffective and very selfish, not only for the majority of the US population, but it's selfish for the world as a whole. Over-reproduction of goods is unfairly distributed and contributes to reasons on why people feel obligated to donate to like charities and whatnot, because many people don't realize that the US global exploitation and intervention in these countries is a huge part of the problem already, but a lot of people don't know that because the government likes to mask their flaws and their failures. I hope that the US government also allocates their national funds a lot better and differently by spending more of their budget on education, better healthcare resources, and rather than spending so much money on military and warfare.
This is a hard question because these changes, I'm not going to see them during my lifetime. I think that radical revolution, a lot of these words are just words that get thrown around and people don't know what they mean. And so radical is you're supposed to get at the root cause. Revolution is when you can't go back to a previous point. I feel that what needs to happen is for radical thought to happen, we need to know what we don't want to go back to.
I want there to be better and faster support for all people, especially from the government and not just for the white and wealthy. I want racism and discrimination to end and for people to be held responsible for their words and actions. I know that's not so radical, but in 2020, that still has yet to happen.
To end this video, I'd like to reflect upon how interesting it was to see how others would answer these questions. To be fair, these are deep questions and could be difficult to answer. However, I think it's really important to discuss the future and the change we want for the world. A possible future that I've imagined for the world is one that emphasizes love and respect for others and the earth. I hope individuals would learn to love and respect each other for who they are. Marginalized communities would no longer face violence and oppression. I imagine and hope for the world to be more sustainable and efficient. We must look towards lower consumption and politically empowered communities. I hope marginalized communities would cease to suffer because of institutions of capitalism and greed. I hope for a future in which basic needs such as healthcare and education wouldn't be so difficult to obtain. Although many of us may not be able to see these changes happen within our lifetime, it doesn't mean we have to stop fighting.